Right, I thought I'd do one reassembly. I showed in previous videos, they're in the description, the links of what to look for, just basically about servicing your bearings and your brakes on your trailer. Making a long trip, you don't want anything to go wrong on the road because you just didn't do the maintenance or you just don't know the condition of the vehicle, of the trailer when you buy it. It's best just to go through it, make sure it's cool, it's good shape. So this is the freewheeling axle. This is the one that the tire was rubbing on, so it could be not quite where it's supposed to be on the axle with the U-bolts. But I've got different tires and rims on it now, closer to what it originally came with, and I think we're going to be fine. So I'm not going to go messing with rusty bolts and trying to take them loose and fix that. I know that it's not going to strike on this body and this fender. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take this hub, and I've already shown in the previous video. I've got a longer video in the description about the brake side, the one that has an actual brake on it. This red grease looks like it's in good shape, but I really like to use my own stuff. This is probably what came with this red stuff came with the trailer. And that held up pretty good because first of all, I think Mr. Gold didn't use it a lot. I don't think he may have traveled to get a tractor or two, but it was an antique tractor collector slash restorer. I mean, he has some nice looking rare tractors, and I was fortunate to be at his auction when he auctioned those tractors and a lot of his stuff. I got his trailer and lots of tools. At an auction, sometimes you make enemies, you don't make friends. Because every time you put your finger up or you nod your head, you're going higher than the guy that just bid. A guy come up to me really late in the auction and says, "Man, you're hurting me really bad." "How's that?" "Man, I got to make a living, and you're running the price up on it." So, "Well, don't you want the thing?" "No, I gotta buy it at a low price and sell it." I said, "Well, I really feel bad for you. This guy here, he's got a lot of good stuff, and it's worth paying the money for." Now at that auction, Mr. Gold was walking around with a little notepad, and he was writing down what everything sold for. He was keeping track, even though they have people that do that at the auctions. And I could tell he was ready to let it go, but he wasn't ready to throw it away or just give it to people. He was happy, I think, with what that auction company did for him. Seems to be fine. Seems to be no problem here. I was trying to put it on at an angle. The bearing was cocked at one side, and so it was not wanting to go in smoothly. Now on these roller bearings, they're not ball bearings, they're roller bearings. There's the original grease up in there, and there's no dirt up in these dust areas. There's no grease. There's no dirt in there at all. So I'm gonna add the grease I like to the grease that's already there. I'm not gonna flush it and thin it out and make it to where that bearing's got to deal with that real thin lubricant. When it heats up, it thins itself out. But the way grease goes back to its natural state. It's in a different location. It isn't where you put it. It's out there, away from the bearings. So that's why people put these grease zerks on their hubs, and they push that grease in there. And there's a big cavity in there. It can hold quite a bit. Doesn't mean it's on the bearing. It just means it's up inside that hole that you shut it into. So taking it apart just takes, you know, this is like an hour's worth of work. I just dragging it out and making a video. I'm already at 5 minutes and I haven't got the bearing on there. So this is not a bad thing to do before you get on a long trip. Just make sure that is in good shape. Replace them if they're making noise or they look any kind of damage to them. Well, let's see. There's a flat side on that washer. Oh, where'd it go? Yeah, flat side on that washer. Faces up. And that castle nut, you remember when we took it off, it just spun off. I think it could have went one more notch. But you always check to make sure it turns freely when you tighten that nut down. All right. So the hole for the cotter key is at the top, going to the bottom. It's flat side on top. That's where your hole is. So you want to orient this castle nut tight up against that washer, pushing that bearing and keeping it nice and seated on the race. The race is in the hub. The bearing is what is removable. So just take this piece of steel. Oh, Russell, you turned it too far. No, that's a nice, smooth moving bearing. Doesn't freewheel. Now, when you put a wheel on it, it'll freewheel. But that's what I like right there. It's got some good grease in it. It can take the heat, I'm for sure. I shouldn't be able to turn it off by my fingers like I did earlier. Get up here and look. Get yourself a new cotter pin. You don't know what kind of abuse the last one's been through. I might could go just a little bit further with that because it should drop in that hole. Like that. If you were to hire me to do your work, you would not make any money. I'd cost you a fortune because it takes so long, and I do things my way instead of the right way. And I was told a long time ago, the right way isn't always your way. There's more than one right way. Oh, okay. I doubt the guy that told me that would ever look at a video of mine. And he's a mechanic. He knows what he's doing. He's a real farmer rancher, but didn't have a lot of patience with me. He did. I stayed employed. He did have patience with me, but we just didn't. We didn't mix well. I learned a lot from him. He's a good teacher. I've had a lot of teachers. I'm just going to take forever. You guys are going to have to go eat a sandwich or something if I take much longer. Okay, so I'm satisfied with how much grease is in there. My cap is clean. I'm going to go ahead and put that cover on. I've already done the brake side. Found another thing. There's a little lip on these caps. And hitting on the cover like that, it just dents up your cap. So just take that same piece of steel, put it on the edge. I'm sure the guy that taught me how to do this, he'd flip over and say, "Why are you doing it that way? I taught you this way." And I say, "Well, you know, I adapted. I put my own thing on it, you know, my own way. You hold that hammer wrong, you're gonna hurt yourself. Yes, sir. You're right. I'm sorry. I'll try better next time. Can you imagine trying to drive that face right up against there with a hammer? It's nice to have a nice piece of heavy steel. You can tell I'm right-handed on. And the guy that taught me was left-handed. There you go. I'm happy with that. I've already put my finger like that with some grease on those threads so they'll be nice and tight after I torque them and stay that way. Pretty happy with them. We'll put them wheels on there and call that done, and yeah, now it's ready to go to the No Name Nationals in Sikeston, Missouri. September 30th and October 1st. You don't have to watch every one of these little videos, but I appreciate it, and I like you liking, and I appreciate you subscribing because you're here. And maybe I won't be so long on the next one. Thanks for watching.